and welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kyle.
And we are your Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners with Brienne too. Gentlemen, how you doing?
Great.
Brienne too, man. Yeah, this was another good one, I think.
There we go.
What a great chapter. I actually care more about Jeff's thoughts on this one than Kyle's, because we were texting a little bit for the fans. Jeff had fallen asleep reading or couldn't make it through when he first started reading.
Yeah.
And even before you said that, I was like, Jeff's going to struggle with this chapter and he's not going to like it. Like I had a feeling.
I don't not like
blowing
it.
up his spot, man.
Yeah, you are.
But then today I was surprised because today you were reading and you're like, actually not that bad of it. You texted not that bad of a chapter.
No, it's not. To be fair to the book, I read it late at night after a long day, and I just stood no chance. So like page 3, I fall asleep. I'm like, so I do think, I don't know, she's just trying to play like, hide and go seek with the whole realm, and she's having really, maybe she gets a little bit of hint maybe to like some spots to go, and she's kind of in her mind maybe thinking a little bit more critically, which is cool, and and then we have the pod interaction. So I think it was better. It's a better chapter for sure. I just think they're too long, man. Like,
Yeah,
they're just long. They're long, and there's like, these are long chapters, and my notes aren't getting longer, which just tells me that there's less important things.
I agree.
I
agree with that. My notes are getting longer, but that's because I'm a bad note taker, and I just can't read a paragraph without writing something down. But I agree that I feel like the chapters aren't necessarily any more dense than they were last book, but they're like on average a few pages longer. So again, I don't mind it because like when you read it, it's like world building stuff that normally is like just more flavor to the world. But yeah, it's like, okay, like especially for a podcast where especially when we're taking notes, we're reading for content, not for flavor.
You get some history of like a little part of the realm that we had no real information on.
That's what I was going to say, and I didn't want to talk over it yet, but now I'm going to.
Yep, so Kyle, why don't you give us a synopsis and then your thoughts?
I wanted to kind of speak to what Jeff was saying. It's like, so some of this is you kind of have to think of it as book one almost at points, right? Like, so she's pretty new as a point of view, so you're kind of getting her character building. She's in a new spot, so you're getting that a little bit. So, I mean, I think that might kind of lend to why these beginning ones are a little long.
Yep.
But so long story short, she ends up at Duskendale, right? And then she's kind of outside, and then she's inside Duskendale. She goes to a shield painter. She goes to an inn. She's looking for Sansa the whole time. And then she leaves kind of heading towards Maidenpool, it sounds like. And Jeff hinted at it. Dude that's been following her turns out to be Pod the whole time.
Did you know? Did you have any idea?
I kind of thought after the time that she like ran into him in town here.
Yeah, because he's a little stuttery. He looks at his feet a lot, which is the two Pod things.
Yeah, and I didn't know. Well, I mean, I guess she didn't really see him before now.
It's been a while since we've seen Pod too, right? Now it's like since Tyrion was really kind of bedridden. So to pull Pod out would have been really impressive. I probably forgot Pod existed.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, it was like a last second pull. Like it was one of those that was like, oh, it's probably this, and then the next paragraph it was it told the answer. So
Pod's another one of Nelson's kind of favorite characters because he sang a stupid ass song in the show, and that's like he just gives him so much credence.
Well, Pod's one of those characters that's very different in the books and the show. He's like very young in the books. In the show, he's more like 18. Like there's a joke and there's like a running.
It would be cooler if he was kind of 10, but I guess that would take away from.
What do you mean?
He's a man. He's a man in the show.
Well, I mean, in the show, there's like this whole like comedic thing that he's like really good at sex. So like that would not be allowed if he's 10. But like I also don't think it fits Pod. Like he's still he's not really nearly as shy. He's a little bit shy and like stuttery, but like
he's different. He's a whole different character.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I think they're different, but I do really like the song he sings in the show. Yeah.
All right. So Kyle, like the world building, Brienne's moving on up, and by up I mean north.
Yeah, and I mean I think I'm gonna take a guess as to why Nelson loved it so much. Is that a Dunk's shield that she gets painted here?
It is.
Ding, ding, ding.
I figured it out immediately. I was like, oh god.
So we can talk a little more about that when we get to that point. But I mean, I like the Brienne chapters in general because in general they give me a Dunk. I mean, I think you even said this last time. Kyle and I got really excited about it to Jeff, like in the spoiler section.
Jeff and you got like excited about it.
Well, in the spoiler section, I got excited that you had said it without like us having to say anything. That you were comparing Brienne and Dunk.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I did not pick up on like a first time read. That Nelson was like, "Oh, what about the sigil?" Like probably all geeked up, and I was like,
Well, I just think there's
I
like
don't
cool
know,
parallels
fucking
between the two
tree.
kids. The
Yeah.
Brienne chapters feel like mini Dunk and Egg book, like Dunk and Egg stories. It's kind of why I like them.
Yeah, but there's no egg. It's
And
just
we don't.
her.
Well, we don't know what's going to happen next,
Pod.
but we have Pod now. Like, are they going to stick together? We don't know, but he could be our egg. And like I said, he's a little boy.
obviously, like-
The other thing is Brienne's 20, right? So again, I feel like it's easy to read these thinking Brienne's like Kat or Ned age or Jamie age. She's 20. She's a kid. She's still a kid too, right? So
Yeah. All right, so let's get started. So Brienne's waiting in line at Duskendale. Kind of cool that they open the city gates like it's a store, right? And like, all right, you can come in now and sell or buy your shit. But she's kind of on edge because of her last interaction with Shadrick and the Mad Mouse. What was the Mad Mouse's name? Because at one point she kind of uses Shadrick and the other name, and I was like,
that's the same.
It's
thing.
Shadrick.
Shadrick is the Mad Mouse.
Yeah, it's his nickname. That's his sigil.
Then what's the other guy's name?
Sir Illifer the Penniless and Sir Creighton Longbow were the other two. But yeah, they didn't seem to. They knew who she was, but they didn't say that they knew what she was doing. Like they didn't make it clear that they knew when she said, "Oh, a
She
mate
was
of
looking for Sansa,
3
whereas-
and 10." Yeah, whereas Sir Shadrick's like, "I'm also looking for a mate of 3 and 10." Like Varys is offering, like so that's I think why she's a little more suspicious for him throughout the chapter. The other thing I was thinking is like, is this the next day? Right, so Brienne like was in an inn, went into this inn,
bailed
in the middle of the night. Is it now we're at Duskendale?
I would say it's probably around there, maybe 2 days.
I have a map. I can show it a little bit later. It feels a little bit too far, Duskendale to Rosby, for it to be a one night thing. So I think it's been a couple. She's like been on the road a couple days.
Let's say 3 days.
It's confusing there, but I don't think it super matters.
Yeah, I don't know that matters.
I think
at
just
this
a
point.
handful of days. But
Yeah, I think the important part is she's kind of on edge, right? Because the Mad Mouse kind of blew her cover, and she's like, "Oh shit."
I don't think it was openly, but yeah, he kind of made her feel stupid by calling her out.
Well, he definitely pointed out a potential flaw in her plan, right?
Yeah. Well, in here she's standing in line waiting to get in, and she's asking her question to people. She notes that she's shy. She never really liked talking to strangers, but now she's kind of forced to. So she asked this lady, like, "Oh, the usual 3 and 10, blue eyes, auburn hair, maybe with a drunken night." And the woman's like, the husband's like, "Does she have a name?" Or the husband says, like, "She's not a maid long." And then they ask about a name, and Bran's like, "I'm an idiot. Like, I didn't even think of a fake
I don't
name."
even have a name. Which I mean, I guess like they'd start using the name, whatever she gave. Like if the town people are like, "Hey, have you seen this girl, Mary?"
Yeah, if they start asking around.
And like Sansa, you don't know what Sansa if she is going by an alias. Like you could have the completely wrong alias.
But you got to have something ready just for when people ask this question.
Yeah,
You
you
can't be
sound.
like, "Oh, I don't
you
know
sound-
for my sister."
Oh, I don't know my sister's name.
Yeah. I don't know if
it's
she said
definitely not a good
sister
look.
here, but yeah.
I thought she did.
Exactly.
But
That's what she's been going with that for the most part. I don't know if in this example.
She said you saw my
Gotcha,
sister on
yeah.
the road. Yeah. Right here. But I would also say, Jeff, I don't know that that's happening so much. Like, have you seen this girl? This other lady was asking about. These people seem to not take her very seriously, right? For the most part.
I mean, it's just
They're
a hard.
kinda
It's a hard question. Like,
Well, yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's like,
yeah, all the people that you see in a day. Could you really
Yeah.
mention like, "Oh yeah, I saw a redheaded girl"? Opinions too. Like, does she look
Yeah.
highborn? Well, again, I think there's some things that Brienne's like at putting on to her. Like, if Sansa's really trying to hide, is she looking highborn? You know, walking around in a silk dress.
I think we said this last time. Like, would her hair still even be auburn? Right? Like, if that's something that is like, if you have hair dye in this time, like, you would think that would be one of the first.
We haven't
things
seen
to
that.
do.
If you're trying to be incognito, you're not running around as the exact person that Brienne's describing.
Actually, that might not be true. Some of those dudes had blue hair from the other
That is
places.
true. Yes, but I guess that's kind of different.
She's-
Yeah.
Yeah. So all right, but whatever. So she kind of gets through, right? The guards question her a little bit.
Yep.
Because the master, or is it because the guy's not even there?
Well, it's
Or-
because she's in armor, so they're just waving everybody through because there's people trying to sell shit. So it's like,
Yeah.
move your turnips through, whatever, and then it's like, okay, at nights, whoa, hold up, knight, what are
Right.
you doing? What's up with your sigil? Is also part of it. You have this
I was gonna say, I think it's
yeah.
a bad again,
lost
right?
in
Like,
that
yeah.
sigil.
not a
Yeah.
good omen to have.
Yeah.
that
So this
sigil.
is a question. I did go back a little bit, but I didn't find it. What did the bats do? I know that they were like killed off by like Creighton or Illiford was like pumped about it, right? Like we killed the last of them.
It's kind of been vague. We never
Okay.
really heard anything. Things like, I can't believe you would wear a sigil as black as the house's deeds. And
Yeah.
then he mentions like
Okay.
2 people, but he doesn't really say what they
That's
did.
fair.
And I think I even brought up, we have heard of one lawn myth in the most recent Dunk and Egg book we read that had been on the Blackfire side. So you could say that is like he had betrayed the rightful king. That's a bad deed, but it seems
Okay.
like what mostly they're talking about
Yeah.
is way worse than that. It's like
It sounded
killing
like
children.
eating kids
Yeah,
or something.
someone later
Yeah,
said something about
exactly.
killing children or something. So Yeah, we'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, so they're here. They don't like the sigil. They're like, oh, what's up with that? And she's like, hey, it's not mine, and I want to get it painted.
Oh,
Which was the perfect question, right?
oh, I know a painter.
Exactly. Perfect question. It's my sister.
My sister, yeah, hell yeah.
She actually paints a lot of shields for you.
Yeah.
Go find her.
Yep. So she gets let in half because they're not, again, they underestimate her. They're not intimidated by her. Once they find out she's a woman, they do say that. It's like, oh, it's just a wench. Let her in is like one of the things that what they say. But also, yeah. Okay, I'll send you to my sister. Make some
Which
money.
becomes a theme later on, right?
So I did have a question about that. Do you think this is how Duskendale operates all the time, or is this because it was wartime and like they're kind of on edge here?
I think it's smart to shut the gates every now and again. You don't want some late night wanderers coming in.
It's a really good question. I never thought about it.
But I didn't think about it either. You would think that most cities shut down.
Do you? I don't know. I mean,
it seems like the war is kind of subsiding, at least in this area, because Brienne mentions like, oh, they're telling me to go to Maidenpool as if it's like a town again.
Yeah.
When I was there, there was bodies in the fucking pool at Maidenpool. So like, it seems like this place is recovering. I know, slightly.
But this is still. That's kind of what I'm saying. It's still kind of fresh, right? Like we're still fresh.
Exactly. Sure. So I think it's a good idea, but it's also a good point to like, do they do this all the time? I was surprised because it sounded like they're waiting outside till the guards show up. Like, let's have some guards 24/7 here.
Let's kind of,
let's get
well,
this.
Again, the guards might have been like up top, but now it's like, all right, 9 o'clock. No, kids. Well, I'm sure there's
that's
like
what they said. They said something about like the guards appeared on the battlements.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they were on the other side, or I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Duskendale seems like a decently big city. Like, hey, I want my Taco Bell open later than 4 a.m. Let the guy with the, you know what I mean? My turn up
McDonald's
bell open.
Got to close at 12. That's all I'm saying. It's like at some point you got to shut. Like,
but you don't if you have guards all the time.
I don't know. Maybe they're a little bit low on guards, so you can't have a guard on duty all the time.
And that
so
might
you close it up so you can get a nap in.
Okay, that's fair. Yep. So we're in.
All right. So she goes through. There's a lot of salvaged armor and just shields and weapons being sold from the battles that have taken place around Duskendale.
Yep.
She likes to liken everything to birds here, right? Like she calls the crows, the sparrows. I feel like. I mean, I guess that was even
the other guy says the sparrows thing, and the other religious people had kind of mentioned that term before.
That's kind of what I'm getting. Is her chapters at least seem to be very bird heavy, metaphor heavy for some reason. I don't know. It's just something.
Well, I think this is something you actually mentioned in the last Jaime chapter. There was like a hint at kind of playing on the whole feast for crows thing, where with I think Tywin's body, where Jaime thought something along those lines, and it's kind of what Cersei Brienne thinks here, right? So she goes through all these sigils she saw: the mailed fist, the moose, the white sun. That's Glover, Hornwood, Karstark. The double-bladed axe, Serwyn. Those were all North sigils. Then she saw other sigils. She saw the Fossway sigil, the red and green apple, thunderbolts of House Laygood, trappings patterned with ants of House Ambrose, and even the Tarly sigil. And I think
she's afraid of the Tarly sigil, right? And the fact that Tarly men are around. Is that because she kind of is blamed for killing Renly?
I think that's part of it. I think also part of it is just she was in Renly's camp. She was like a high-ranking person in Renly's Kingsguard. So anyone who was like had FaceTime with Renly would know who she is and be able to pick her out of a crowd. And Randall was one of those people.
Would blow her cover of.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So I think that is the most likely reason of why she's afraid to see Randall's, for the same reason. But again, Randall's now on Jaime's side. So kind of what Longbow said, right? I think Longbow or Illiford called her out about this last time. Like, hey, you killed Renly. And they're like, hey, we're all King's men now. Like, good job. Like, you know, like, hey, we're on Joffrey's side now. It doesn't matter. So would Randall think the same? I don't know. We've only heard stories of Randall really from Sam, and they don't sound great.
That's the nicest guy.
Yeah, I mean, but we heard that he was a great soldier somewhere else, so who knows?
But my point on all that there was what Kyle was saying for the birds is that quote ends with "Friend or foe, the crows care not."
Yep.
Which is interesting because later she goes outside and she mentions something about all of Randall's men who died. Their bodies are brought in and given heroes burials, and all the Northmen are buried in like a common grave, and there's like crows around it. So it's like, okay, well, were they really? Did the crows eat anybody? But I think it's more of just a death thing, not necessarily getting eaten by birds.
Well, and it was more of just how they were treating the losers here, essentially, right? Like, I think that was kind of the point. Was
they all died?
It was just like a great, here lie the wolves. No, it was just more of like, here lie the wolves, like, fuck these guys, right? Like,
yeah, because they're selling their leftover shit, yeah.
Well, no, they're selling everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Well, the dead people stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so we get some world building stuff then about kind of where Duskendale's built. The only detail I have
shield you want
is that it's on a harbor, right, Nelson?
You want to read the quote?
I can if you want to.
Kyle's got his book open.
Duskendale was built around its harbor. North of town, the chalk cliffs rose. To the south, a rocky headland shielded the ships at anchor from storms coming up the narrow sea. The castle overlooked the port, square keep and big drum towers visible from every part of town. In the crowded, cobbled streets, it was easier to walk than ride, so Brienne put her mare up in a stable and continued on afoot, with her shield slung across her back and her bedroll tucked up beneath one arm.
Yep. I sent you guys the map. I think there's a few points just kind of see where she's coming from. So it's going to seem like a weird map. I cropped it weird. I wanted to include Bravos because I think Kyle had questions about this before. It was like, where is Bravos in relation to everything? And it was kind of close to what we were showing anyway. So I was like, I'll just pull her across the narrow sea and get Bravos in here. But it also shows King's Landing, where we're coming from, Duskendale, where we're at, and Maidenpool, where I don't know if it's left potentially ambiguous, but potentially where we're going to. And we also see the Eyrie, which is where, if we're trying to get to Sansa, it's the destination we're trying to get to. So, yep. And then here, again, we can see Duskendale and Maidenpool both actually on the water, which is, again, kind of comes up.
That's
Brienne
a pretty big ride, too.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So at one point she thinks, I can get a boat here. Because she's like, oh, I can go find... We'll talk about it later. There's some options where I can go find Sansa. I need to get a boat. I can get it here. And then later she hears some rumors. And I think what she's leaning towards is, I can get a boat at Maidenpool too. So why don't I go check out the rumor, even if it sounds stupid, and just get a boat from there. So...
Yeah. We'll get to that later.
Yep.
So
exactly.
She does get to the sister, the captain's sister that can paint her shield. She's also afraid of the bats. It freaks her out a bit. So
yep.
Definitely something there. And then her seeing the door sparks an old shield that she used to see in her dad's storage.
Yeah. So the door, when you're saying the door to the house of the painter is painted awesome, like super immaculate. There's castle in autumn leaves. It's beautiful. There's like critters, a fox and stuff. There's like a sly red fox, 2 sparrows, and behind the leaves, the shadow of a boar. The reason I wonder, anytime there's like animals like that, especially fox, I know is a Florent sigil. I'm like, is this
the boar?
Is this symbolism for
stuff.
the boar? Boar makes me think of the one that killed
Robert
killed Robert.
I think Craig Hall might also be a boar for sigil. But yeah, it always just makes me immediately think of like, is there some sigil symbolism here when we're playing with animals?
And just because it was something we had talked about before, so Jeff, what happens when she sees the bat is that she tells the tale, a short tale here of giant bats flew out of Harrenhal on moonless nights to carry bad children to Mad Danelle for her cookpots. So this is where I thought it was like eating the kids.
Sometimes you need a kid for it's like Hocus Pocus, right? Bring all the children.
Yeah, but again, it's I think one of the also like I think one of the themes of these Brienne chapters is like, can you trust anything that these small folk are saying?
Yeah, for sure. They're definitely, these are like the old Nan times 10 tales, right? Like these are even probably less than old Nan because she's at least like probably schooled to some degree, being as she was, pretty important in the town here.
And this makes me think, this exactly reminds me of an old Nan tale. It's exactly what I was thinking of. But I just think like in general, Brienne hears like, I think both chapters now, Brienne has heard like people over like talking about shit that she knows about better, whether it's, I think, Jaime stuff or who killed Tywin in this chapter maybe or whatever. But she's like, she hears stuff that she seems to be like, I know that's bullshit. But then also she'll talk to somebody and take a bunch of information from some town person as like gospel, even though like a second ago she heard a bunch of bullshit come from somebody else. So it's
and we're going to get to it later, but like what this dude tells her, and he's even like undercutting himself, like, look, I don't know how true this is. Exactly. I don't know that I could tell you for sure. Yeah. Like, and she's like, oh, but this is great information. I need to do. Yeah. So.
Yep. All right. So she gets the shield. Kyle was spot on. Dunk shield.
Well, we don't. Well, yeah, she describes it.
It doesn't.
Well, she doesn't, and she never really describes it a lot. So I think it's actually kind of impressive you got that.
It's when she gives it to her in the town, the tavern later or whatever.
On. Yeah.
But I think she
just said it reminds me of your door reminded me of an old shield. Can you paint that?
An old shield that she saw in her father's armory. So interesting.
Dunk ends up there to some degree, yeah.
Why was Dunk at Tarth? Are we going to get that in a story? Yeah, like that's kind of sweet.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yep. All right. So then she goes to an inn, right? Gets a room and a bath.
Yep. The inn across the street called
Seven Swords.
Why?
The Darkland's 7 sons were all 7 Kingsguard.
Exactly. Darklands was the house with the most Kingsguard ever. 7. Pretty impressive.
Why is this the first I ever heard about him though? Like, did Jaime mention him when he went through the book?
They're not around anymore.
Well, they end up getting all. We hear about them.
We hear that there aren't any Darklands anymore.
They were traitors.
I know, but they wouldn't have been in the book.
I'm sure they're in the book, but
I feel like they would have been like, the famed 7 brothers.
Yeah.
All,
Well, no.
I feel like this is a big.
I don't
achievement.
think it was all at once. It's not
Okay.
like all 7 at one time were Darklings.
Gotcha.
I think it was 7. I know it was 7 across
Eras or whatever. Yes. Okay. Time. How about that?
Yeah.
Like one of them is in House of the Dragon. Jeff, I don't know if Jeff would recognize it, but one of them was in House of the Dragon.
Yep.
Yeah, they don't matter. All right, so she gets a bath. It's a shitty small bath, which makes her think of the great time she had a big old bath at Harrenhal, and naked Jamie walks by just swanging, and she's just reflecting on.
Which isn't what happened. He came in fully clothed and had to have somebody help him get naked because he was getting used to having one hand. So, like, she pictures him
that's
walking
interesting.
naked through the mist, but like he did end up getting in the bath with her. But it was because I went back and read that scene. It was slightly different.
He wasn't flaunting on the runway down to the bath like
No.
she's.
But it is. I think this is a cool like memory of Brienne, and it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I think the funny part about it is that she tries to think of Renly's face at the end of it.
Yeah, she tries to like scrub away the thought of Jamie right as she's like, "What is she getting her bath now?"
Yeah, she's in the
Yep.
bath. Yep.
Yeah, that's what called back the bath memory. Yep.
Yep. I don't have much else, but
So there are no Darklings anymore, but the lady who's giving her a bath does mention that there are a bunch of like offshoots, darks,
Like Karstark kind of deal. Yeah.
Yeah,
Darks, Dark Woods, the Dargoods.
I take them not as like as noble as the Karstarks, more like
Well, yeah.
bastardy branches, but yeah,
and what we find out they're kind of bastardy branches of traitors.
well, yeah, now because they try to capture Ares, but they also say like, oh, she says something about I have. And so the Darklings way back, it's funny. She has to go way back. Not even like before the Targaryens came, because before the Targaryens came, the Darklings were still not kings. They were still vassals
Before
to
the
whoever.
Andals, right?
Before the Andals. So way fucking back when they were kings. So she's going, I'm royal blood. I feel like we've heard this like 4 times now.
A lot
I
of
think-
people claiming royal blood.
So I think it's interesting, right? Because like, why did Jon send Maester Aemon away?
Royal blood.
Because he
King's
has royal
blood.
blood. Everybody's got fucking
There's
royal
just
blood.
king's blood all over the place.
That's it. Yeah. I was thinking that too here. I was like, wow, there's a lot of fuel for this fire, actually.
Melisandre just needs to go to
Yeah.
Duskendale, get any dark, which seems to be a lot of them, and like, you know what I mean, Dargood, any of these guys, and just
Weak.
there we go.
It's
We got to
weak
drop a
king's
king's
blood.
blood. So
Yep.
I think George is potentially playing with this whole like everybody's claiming to have royal blood at the same time as royal blood's also being claimed to be very powerful for like magic and stuff. Right. And I
Yeah.
never really thought about it till we've gone through and I'm like realizing that's literally happened like 4 times where like very low board people
They're
are
all
like, I
liars.
gotta drop a royal's blood. Yeah. So
Who was the last one? I feel like
Rennifer Longwaters, the guy Jamie was talking to in the
Yeah.
dungeons.
Longwaters. Yep. That's right. Yep.
All right, so next morning she goes to see Lord Riker at his keep, but he's not there. The guys are sarcastic to her too, like, "Oh, you're gonna have to talk real loud because he happens to be elsewhere."
Maidenpool with Tarly.
Yep.
Oh shit, Tarly's in town. Gotta watch out for him.
Mm.
And they're like, "All right, go ahead in." And they take her to the Castellan, which is like, "Nah, I don't want to deal with this. Go to the Maester."
Rufus Leak.
Well, he can't read. Yeah, Rufus Leak. I don't know why we even get his name. I don't know why this guy's mentioned. He literally just sends her on. But yeah, he's like, I can't read. Move on. She
Yep.
goes to the Maester.
This is another interesting point too. Is like the Maester's like when she starts asking for what she's looking for. Like obviously people have come here for Dantos already. Like she didn't think about that, right?
Yeah.
That would have been the first thought of
Everybody.
everybody. Was
Yeah.
like, oh, Dantos probably went home, or like we should at least check his home. And she's obviously late to that party.
Yeah. So I think the other thing I kind of want to get Kyle's thoughts on this is like, and I think kind of I wanted to mention this at the beginning, but I forgot. I think part of the reason it's also like kind of a lot of people don't like these chapters. I think is because like we know where Dantos is.
Sansa is. Yeah. Dantos is dead.
We know
right?
where Sansa is, but we know where Dantos is. And most of Brienne's leads, like she came to Duskendale for Dantos. The thing she hears later is about a fool, right? So
Yeah.
again, it's like Dantos is the root of all these things we're going
So,
off right now. And like,
Do we know he's dead? I mean,
I mean, he got shot by a crossbow. We know that.
is that what happened? Okay, I forgot like the exact circumstances. I remember
thought,
the boat.
I thought they even found his body then too. I thought they did kill confirm.
Oh, on the King's Landing
body.
side, maybe.
Yeah.
Like Cersei or Jaime heard that Dantos washed up dead. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
If only
Not saying
someone
you're wrong.
kept really detailed notes with a note-taking system.
It's a thing where if I
Yeah, we could just click
the
the name
thing is
Dantos.
if I find out that we didn't, then is it a spoiler?
Well, no. I guess it would have been.
That's why I leave it vague sometimes.
Oh well.
Leave it vague, then.
If you trust what I'm saying about stuff
He
in
has
these books,
not washed up yet.
Yet.
I don't
Spoiler
remember.
alert, Nelson.
I don't
Potentially
remember
never.
if he does. I
Potentially
thought
never.
I thought it
It's all right.
happened already. So I don't. Not that I don't remember a single chapter
It doesn't
going
matter.
forward.
I don't think that's a big spoiler, right? Like, I mean, him washing up is whatever. I assumed he was dead myself, so
Yeah, maybe a red priest finds him and gives him the kiss of life.
yeah. What's his name? Patches. He's Patches number 2. Patch face.
Patch face too.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember either. I don't want to say anything else. I don't want to say what I think because if I'm right, then it's a spoiler.
All right, doesn't matter. The next part is Brienne starts actually kind of thinking now. She's like, God damn it, I'm just walking around aimlessly. Like, let me think again where she could possibly go. And she kind of takes all the facts that she knows about Sansa.
Whoa, are you trying to skip the entire Defiance of Duskendale?
Oh,
Yes.
I was going to, but I guess there's a lot. No, I don't want to. I have it here. There's a lot of history of
There's a lot of history. So
history of Hollard family is my bullet point. So Nelson,
yeah, exactly.
take it away.
So I guess first thing we should mention is the Hollard sigil is berry red on pink. You guys know I'm getting interested in the sigil thing.
I think
Berry,
that's Barry red.
Barry, probably, because what it means is stripes, vertical stripes.
Yeah, yeah.
So like or horizontal stripes.
So actual bars, red
Yeah,
bars.
Yeah. Red barred. Yeah.
Red and pink horizontal stripes. Blue chief means blue top, banner, header, fat
Okay.
blue top. 3 gold crowns on the blue chief. That's the Hollard sigil.
That's an awful sigil.
A lot of colors.
Colors are clashing.
I think it actually is cool. It's actually one of my favorite sigils when I looked it up and saw it.
Nah.
And saw it. I'll flash it on screen for the YouTube people.
You have no taste.
It's important because later when Brienne gets to the ruins, she notices that there's 3 towers that are made of gray stone, but the tops
The 3 crowns or whatever.
are made of sandstone, which exactly make them look like 3 gold crowns. And she realizes this is the old Hollard seat. Yep.
Just like on Minecraft, they got a little sandstone block.
Just like Bran's castle, man. Or tower.
He kind of mentions why they got the 3 crowns.
3 took Hollard wives, Darklands.
Yep. When the
Right.
Darklands were king, 3 times they wed into the Hollard family. So they're kind of like, these are close families, right? The Hollards are like very
Mhm.
close.
Darklands and
servants.
Hollards.
It's the best family to get queens from.
Hollard. Yep. So that's why they're close. And then we get into the Defiance of Duskendale, which we've heard of a little bit before. Pretty much we've heard of Barristan's part of this because when Jamie read the White Book, Barristan's feats here were mentioned a lot. So first bit, basically everyone in the town doesn't blame the Lord at all. What really happened on paper is the Lord kidnapped Aerys. So Lord Denys Darkland kidnapped Aerys the king, Aerys II, the Mad
How
King.
did he just get to him? That's the question.
Good question.
I mean, I know the answer. I don't think it's in the books.
Oh.
I think it's from a world book, so I'll say it. Basically, he refused to pay his taxes, and then he told he not like he was just flat out refusing. He's like, I want better
Fuck you, come get me.
He's like, I want better negotiations. If you like come here to negotiate my better tax terms. And I think Tywin advised against it. Aerys did it anyway. Because I think at this point, Aerys and Tywin were just like not getting along, and people were saying that Tywin ruled the kingdom. So Aerys was kind of just doing like whatever the opposite was
Yeah,
to make sure it
I'm
was clear
gone.
that he was making his own choices. Exactly.
So
So
he go by himself though? Like, how do you get captured?
well, he
Or,
takes
like-
one Kingsguard and he gets killed, right? We hear that's part of the history. So he takes Gwaingon, who gets killed by the Hollard. So yeah, so he comes, he gets kidnapped, but it's the other thing is like these maesters are such horrible like teachers / historians. He's like the town folk say this, but he gives no other alternative. Like it's just like the story we
town
have
folk are
is the
saying
story that
matters.
the maester seems to be dismissing as he's telling it, right? But he says the wife Sarala was whispering Mir's poison in her husband's ear, which is basically why he did everything he did. So he kidnaps Aerys,
Yeah, you always got to blame the woman, right?
especially when they're from across the narrow sea.
especially when it's a Brienne chapter, right? That's part of the theme is sexism. And what you said too, Jeff, I glossed it over. Great part. It's also part of just like, yeah, foreigners are also looked down on just as much as women. So this is a double for this wife. And they even say if he would have married a Staunton or a Stokeworth, everything would have been
Everything would have been
fine.
kosher.
Yeah, so it's a great point what you said.
Most of the stuff I say is great points.
So yeah, kidnaps him. He's held him for half a year. Tywin does gather a host, and he could take the castle.
Seizes it up.
But he's like, if you attack
Wait. They took him for half a year?
for half a year, held him.
I don't know they say that in here?
Yeah, because all my notes here are from this chapter, and I don't have any of the extra stuff. That was all from memory. So, this is bullet. Dennis kidnapped Aerys. It's in the first paragraph from
For half a year, Aerys was held within these very walls. Yeah, I just like skimmed over that. Holy shit, I didn't realize it was
Yep.
And then Barry went old big sword on these guys, and
So it's interesting because he says Tywin had enough people to take the castle, and he was going to, but Denny said that he killed Aerys. He would kill Aerys.
No, he would kill him. Yeah.
So they send Barristan in instead, right, as like a solo mission. But like, so what's the plan? Just seize this castle out?
what do you mean?
What do you mean?
What's Tywin doing? Like, if he's not attacking, is it just he's
Of course he
sieging,
is.
right? No food goes
Or
in.
he's waiting. You
Yeah.
would think if Tywin really didn't like Aerys, he would have just attacked him. Like, oh damn, sorry, Aerys
Or,
got
yeah, you killed the
Aerys
king.
got killed in this whole mess. Like,
Exactly. So
damn.
yeah.
But-
so then Barry, I think any of those are possible. So Barristan goes in, rescues Aerys, badass. We heard more about that in the other chapter. Denny's after that happens. Denny's opens his gates, begs for mercy. He got none. All the Darklings were killed.
Or did he get mercy?
Well, he got the kind of mercy that Arya has been learning about recently. Not what he was looking for, though. And yeah, the woman, of course, she wasn't just killed. She had her tongue torn out. Then she had her lady parts torn out because that's what she was using to
That's how
persuade
she
the Lord. Then she was burned.
spelled him.
Burned. So then we learn a little bit more about how
Awful shit.
awful shit. How the Hollards were involved. John Hollard was the steward, and he was wed to Dennis's sister. He was killed. Their son, Robin Hollard, was a squire, and when the king was captive, he would like dance around and like pull his beard.
He's taunting him.
He would just taunt the king. So he died on the rack.
It's a
Yeah,
15-yard
yeah.
penalty.
And
That sounds worse than just getting like beheaded, right?
on the rack for sure. I don't
Yeah,
know what that
yeah.
means. I picture like the thing with the
Stretched.
3
Yeah,
holes where like
Ooh.
No, that's like a stocks, man.
that's a stockades. Yeah.
Stockade.
I guess
yeah.
so. It's a thing
So
from
the rack
Braveheart
is like I think it's like the torture rack, right? Yeah.
at the end of Braveheart where they just pull you apart.
I don't know that they necessarily have to pull you apart, but it's definitely like a rack, like you're
A
chained into
crucifixion
a
type
flat
thing?
table kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely seen the one. I don't know if that's the rack, but we're the ones where they have like the big crank and shit. I feel like a lot of those medieval torture devices were like made up throughout the years too.
I don't know, man. Back before TikTok and Instagram, people had nothing better to do than sit around and think of ways for you to
I know,
die.
but I think a lot of them are fake, man.
Maybe that's possible. I would hope so.
There's some crazy renderings of images of old torture techniques.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, they definitely did it.
And like one time on this TV show, I feel like there was like this Japanese thing where they would like there's this bamboo that grows with a really sharp point, and they would plant it, and it doesn't need sunlight, and they would plant it, and then they would tie your ass down, and it grows quick, like over like it'll get to like a foot tall over like a week and a half, and they would plant it and then tie your ass down, and it would literally grow up through you.
Oh,
And like it would kill you from the bamboo growing through you before you would starve or whatever. Like
That's
how
awful.
I hope that never happened to anybody. I hope that was made up because that would be the worst thing ever. I think about that. You guys have nightmares about tests being turned in late or whatever. I have nightmares of being killed by bamboo coming up through me. It's horrible. But yeah, let's finish history. So Simon Hollard was killed by Sir Barristan Selmy in the escape. Simon Hollard was the master at arms who had killed Gwaine Gaunt, who was the Kingsguard. All the Hollard lands were taken, towns burned, they died with the Darklands, all except for Dantos, because his father had died before any of this shit ever happened, and he was young, didn't have anything to do with it.
Was he was squiring?
He wasn't even
for
there,
somebody,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Well, he became a squire because he was going to get killed anyway. Aerys was like, fuck him, kill them all. But Barristan was like, come on.
Oh, it's Barristan that said that?
No, Barristan chose to save this one.
Yeah, exactly, Barristan. How many people can Barristan save? At least 2.
2 in 1,000.
What? Isn't he with Dany right now? He saved her too.
There we go. There's 3.
Yeah, it's 3. Yeah.
The last part is the Macer's like, Dantos would not come here. He never had anything here, and he definitely doesn't have anything here now, right? Like,
Yeah.
He hasn't been
Right.
like...
There's no family. There's no nothing. Like,
Yeah.
no one...
Well, even since the Defiance, everyone's hated Darklands and Hollards, basically. So, like,
Yeah.
he's
Not the spot
nothing
for him.
here.
So she's like, damn, I wasted my time coming here. Where should I actually go? And she starts coming up with some plans, right? Like, which family does she have left? Well, her brothers are dead, but she has an uncle that's at River Run. Her other uncle was wed and captured at the Twins. So I don't know if that's a really friendly place. She does have an uncle and half brother at the Wall. That'll be far as fuck, but maybe I should go there. Oh, and she does have an aunt that's at the Vale. That's not really in the mix of anything.
And easy to get to. Like you said, like River Run, you have to cross war-torn land. Like the other one, like with the Wall, fuck no. Like the Vale is easy to get to. We can get there by ship. And Lysa, she'd be nice. Like, that's good, right? So,
Would surely welcome her sister's daughter.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe, yeah.
Brienne's definitely never met Lysa, but
Well, yeah, well, I mean, and Lysa's dead at this point anyway.
And Lysa being splattered on the rocks right now. Just
before she was splattered, she was not very welcoming of
of strangers.
Well, even of Sansa.
Specifically, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was definitely for us, right? Like, I feel like
Is that the carrot at the end of the stick? They're just dangling in front of
it's
Brienne.
Brienne might go the right way.
yeah, right, yeah, exactly. That's kind of, yeah.
Or maybe she'll go, because the one dude was like, look, maybe you should go to Old Town. And she does have that thought, like, am I really about to go to Old Town? Or am I going to go across the narrow sea? Like, what am I doing?
Yep.
But
that's what the Mace Sword says. Like, go, don't look here. Look, you might as well look at an Old Town or across the sea. Exactly.
Yeah. So she's walking. She ends up taking a wrong turn, walks too far, and some lady helps her out. Like, yeah, you got to turn back around, turn left at the Sept. And as she does that, bam, little boy, 10-year-old boy bumps into her.
Yep. Well, and it's interesting. She not only took a wrong turn, she took a wrong turn down a dead end. Right? So I think this is a little. Well, I think this is a hint that she's being followed, right? Like, why we know this boy was outside the gate, even if you don't know his pod.
Gotcha.
He's outside the gate, so it's not like he lives down.
There's no
road.
reason for him to be down here.
Why is he going to this dead end the same way? Yeah.
That's fair. I was wondering. I don't know. It seemed kind of out of place almost.
I think what
like
Nelson said.
This
probably
weird lost. You're right, Nelson. I think that's a fair kind of. It's a lead.
A tiny wink. Yeah.
Yep. So she remembers this boy, right? After he kind of stutters, walks away, says sorry for, he was walking with his head down. And she's like, damn, all right, I definitely saw him at the gate this morning.
And he sticks out too because he's only 10 or 12, but he's wearing chainmail and a longsword.
And by himself.
Yeah, and by himself. So young and armed, like geared up.
Yep. So
and I definitely knew it was the kid from before.
From her first chapter, that was kind of like weirdly following.
On the horse up in the hill or something. Yeah, exactly. It was immediate that I knew, but I didn't know it was Pod yet, I guess.
Even when she's with the two hedge knights and one of them's keeping watch, the one who's like a tall talker, he's like, a bunch of people came by and a boy on this horse. And we were like, oh, he probably made that story up. And you were like, I don't know, because we've seen this boy. Like, you were kind of on to this boy is a little suspicious in the last chapter. So again, it was one of those things that I think we gave you props for in the spoiler section. So good on you.
So she remembers him at the gate, doesn't remember where else she's seen this boy, and she's like, all right, whatever, I'm going back to the inn. And it's packed, but a dwarf is nice to her and offers up his seat, and they have some conversations about some things going on, right? They share some soup together.
Yep. Let's say, Jeff, here went a little bit of your, well, there's not many doors in the realm. I was like, Tyrion's, now there's two of them, essentially, right? Like
now we have two.
I just mean like it's a little less sure of a thing. Like, yeah.
I wonder if you look. I think people have done this to try and get George for not being diverse enough. He definitely isn't diverse. Everybody's white, but for handicaps and stuff like that. I think people have done because the thing is with Game of Thrones we have a big sample size. I think there's 8,000.
Is that true that they're all white? I mean, there's a lot of Essoses.
We have Jalabar Zoe, whose skin is black as ink, and that's the one black guy we have.
No, but I feel like a lot of the people from Essos are almond of skin, or not
Dothraki, I guess. Yeah,
Dothraki,
and the Dornish have darker skin, but
they're not in Westeros.
They're not in Westeros,
which again makes sense because in medieval times the world wasn't as much of a mixing pot. But without going too far down that, I think people have done the math of okay, there's 8,000 named characters. How many of them are dwarves? Out of 8,000 people, how many in the real is George covering his bases well enough? So but yeah. So again, I think it's cool. We get him. He seems like a genuine guy.
Tyrion's still recognizable. I was just making a joke. Yeah. Anyway,
but this guy seems like a genuine guy. We never actually get this guy's name. He seems pretty genuine though. She's saying hey, I'll give gold to anyone who helps me, and he's like, I'll just take some soup, and he ends up taking the soup. Brienne might have given this guy
some gold,
a handful of money, a decent amount of money.
Sometimes you just need a good crab soup.
He honestly didn't have great info, though. Let's be real.
He didn't, but it wasn't worth a bunch of genuine. Gold. I like the genuine people.
But that doesn't mean it's worth money.
Well, nickel for your thoughts, penny for your thoughts.
Exactly.
All right. So the dwarf goes on. Brienne starts asking him questions, and he's like, "Well, I did see this fool at Maidenpool," which, bam, that's perks up Brienne's ears, and she's on the hunt for. She's like the greatest detective, right? So
yeah, it's true. One little thing here that I thought was funny is when she's kind of describing him. She's like, I can see his scalp where he had shaved it, so he's got a little Friar Tuck haircut. Is there, I'm sure there's a name for that haircut. That's what I got. I got that
Well,
haircut one time.
I don't know. They always, when they did like Tim Tebow and whatnot, it was the friar tuck.
Yeah. Do you remember when I got that?
Didn't you willingly friar tuck yourself?
I love a crazy haircut.
You willingly friar tucked for freshman movement day, right?
It was junior year.
You got the hand in the head, which was
Hand in the head was freshman year.
Yeah.
that
It
was
says the fucking name of the haircut right here, you ding dong.
Is it the friar tuck?
No, it's a tonsure.
I thought
Oh.
that was like a hat.
You're
That
saying
goes
in-
over
in
your
this
tonsure.
book,
Then
it says that.
that's a Game of Thrones word.
It's literally she could see where he shaved the crown of his. Brienne could see the crown of his scalp where he had shaved it. Many holy brothers wore such tonsures.
Yeah, it's a friar tuck.
Well, the whole point of it was because Brienne has seen this haircut before, and she's like, "Why do they do that?" And it's like, "Oh, so to show they have nothing to hide from the father." And Brienne had said, "Can't the father see through hair?"
Brienne had a stupid, which I didn't think it was a stupid question.
Exactly. Again, I think this is George kind of. I've said it before. I haven't said it in a while. George is an atheist. He sometimes, I think, likes to poke fun at religious stuff. I think this is a little bit of that, where he's like, and then she's just told me I was being stupid, which again is like the maester giving a. He's like, "Oh, this is a stupid story from the townsfolk, but here it is, and I'm not going to give you the real, like, you know what I mean?" So it's like, "Oh, you're foolish," but like doesn't say why we're foolish, right? So that type of thing. But yeah, sorry. So
All right, so there's a fool at the Silly Goose, Silver Goose,
stinking goose.
Stinking Goose,
Silly.
some kind of adjective, and he's running around trying to get passage for 3.
Yep.
What? 3? I'm looking for 2. Why would we need 3? Who's number 3? That's all going on in Brienne's mind.
Which again,
So-
even like yeah, this is the type of thing where I feel like this is why Jeff gets annoyed. Is like Brienne has a page and a half here of thinking, and we know she's down the wrong track because it's all about a fool. We know Dantos is dead. We know Sansa's not at Maidenpool. We know Tyrion. Well, we don't know. Tyrion potentially could be in Maidenpool, but he's probably not involved as well. And here goes Brienne thinking about it. I think on a first time read, it's kind of interesting because you're like,
Well-
what is she thinking? But on a second time read, you're like, we're just wasting time doing nothing.
Doesn't this like so? You don't think so? You're kind of spoiling that this isn't anybody else. Then
Huh?
this couldn't be somebody else that we
Even
know.
if it's someone that we know, it's not what Brienne's looking for.
So it's the book isn't for Brienne. It's for us, Nelson, to read it, right?
You know, I love the chapter.
So like, is this Patchface and what's her name? And what's the daughter's name? And
Shireen.
and his wife.
Sleece and Shireen,
Yeah, like I mean, like
Yeah,
could it be
maybe.
the three of them. Like I mean,
or
like,
or it's just Littlefinger, Dantos, and Sansa, and then they just
no.
Well, Dantos is dead.
yeah. But at some point he kind of got there, right? Like I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. And like something had to have happened to put this underway, but I don't think Dantos was out of the castle long enough to be doing this kind of stuff, right? Like, so I don't like he was with Sansa. We even get to that later where somebody's like, she prayed, right? Like, so he was there a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know that he could have been in Maidenpool
Yeah.
setting stuff up. So it had to have been another fool. The only other fool we know that we haven't seen in a long time, really, is.
Well, I thought
Patchface.
I thought they were saying this nimble dick guy was the fool. Or is
No.
nimble dick just
So we'll get to
No,
him one
he's
second.
the barkeeper.
nimble
Hold on,
dick
hold on. Just to be
fooled
clear,
the fool? Is that what we're
I
saying?
understand what you said, Kyle, but you said she prayed and prayed. What you're talking about there is Brienne. I don't know where it is in this chapter, but at one point in this chapter, Brienne said she was talking to a maid who said that Sansa would pray and pray and pray. She would go to the sept
Yeah.
every day, but then she would say, and she went to the godswood every fucking night. And again, Brienne thinks that is, she might have gone to the north because obviously that's what
Her
she
gods
likes.
are
Her
there,
gods
yeah.
there, but we know she was meeting with Dantos.
Dantos was
Yes.
there, and that's what I meant.
Sorry,
yeah,
I'm just
it's
trying
like
to clarify because it's more than just us. That listen to-
So she was meeting Dantos or at least trying to meet Dantos over and over again. And if he wasn't in town, why would she be there, right? Like, so I guess what I'm saying is that we know that Dantos was still in King's Landing for most of that. So how could he have been in Maidenpool
Yes,
setting this up
yes,
super
gotcha,
far away?
okay,
is what I'm
gotcha.
So
trying to
your
say.
thoughts are Patchface was the fool.
He's the only other fool I really know of that
Okay.
might be wearing motley, right? Because that's the motley is jester wear, right? Like the patchwork kind of.
Well, I think it's a really good guess because he's not in King's Landing, but Dragonstone is nearby. The only other fool I can think of in King's Landing is too busy fucking Cersei. So
Moon Boy. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That was what I was gonna say. Is that the only other one we do know isn't out and about? So that was kind of where I was at.
All right, let's finish up. So Tarly is on watch. He's guarding.
well,
the
hold
port,
on, Nimble
right?
Dick. You're jumping around. Nimble Dick.
Well, I'm not. Well, I was just saying, Nimble Dick fooled the fool while Tarly was watching the port.
Yep. So you had said a second ago you thought Nimble Dick was the fool, but he's the guy. So this guy, this dwarf brother who's talking to brother, as in like begging brother, who's talking to Brienne, said that he had seen this fool himself. He was down at the docks at first looking for passage for 3. Then he saw this guy in the Stinking Goose looking for passage for 3. But then he was gone, and a few days later there was some guards looking for him, and then a few days after that, this other guy, Nimble Dick, showed up bragging that he had fooled a fool.
Yeah,
that's kind of all. That's really all we.
So now we know that somebody was messing with a fool. Which fool was it? Brienne's thinking maybe I should go check it out.
So I think it's interesting. He fooled a fool. What do we? That's in. She's like, what does that mean? He's like, that's all I got for you. Sorry, that's it. And then a little man's prayers. Good luck to you. But like, what? So what do you think, Kyle? I think this is kind of a good.
I don't know, man. Like I've given you kind of my main thing here. This Nimble Dick dude could have like taken some money from him. He could have sent him the wrong way.
Fool Patchface? You can't fool Patchface. He's so sound of mind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And I also don't see how he could be trying to be getting passage, right? Like we haven't seen anything that coherent out of him, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. He's mostly talking.
He sings he sings in rhymes, and it's like, what the fuck? Are you talking
exactly.
About?
So like, I don't know. I'm kind of undercutting my own, like I said that before about the way that they tell these stories, but I'm definitely undercutting my own theory. But I don't know another person in Motley offhand. I don't think, unless it's somebody hiding, but I don't know who that could be. Could it be one of the brothers that are riding around? Arya was with him, Gendry and stuff. I don't. You know what I'm saying? I don't. I'm like so lost here.
On the line of Gendry, do we know of any of other of Robert's bastards? Not fools necessarily, but that might be looking for passage.
What's her name? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point.
Near
the one that was at Dragonstone, right?
Yeah, so I'll just leave that there. We can move on.
That's fair. Yeah, I forgot all about Davos and all that.
That was it. So Edric Storm was who I was alluding to.
Yeah,
but
yeah, you're good. And I don't think that's even a spoiler. I think that was a helpful hint.
So. A reminder. Yep.
Yeah.
So yep.
Last time she was at Maidenpool was a mess, right? Dead bodies everywhere. Jamie was making jokes, and she's not too excited about going back to there. But it sounds like it's a little bit different.
Yep, she knows the road is rough. It's the road where Cleos died, and she was captured. She thinks about fighting Jamie. She's like, oh man, what a fight that was. Like, and he was changed. So this is interesting. There's a few, again, I feel like I like to hype Brienne up in my own head. There's a few times here where I feel like her abilities are tempered a little bit. Like, she's good, but I don't know how good she really is. I mean, she did beat Loras.
She fought a tired Jamie that was in shackles.
She fought a tired Jamie in shackles and won, and she says here it was a close thing. Like, she's like,
I wouldn't have. She says it was closer than it should have been, right?
Yeah. The guy she beat later was 65. A little topical. We just saw a big boxing match between a huge age gap like that. I did not realize how much age mattered. It also kind of makes me think bad on Barristan, because Barristan's up there too, right?
Nelson, are you're telling us that you don't think that was a scripted?
No, there was a lot of script in there, but I still don't think that if it was.
I didn't watch it because it was
100%
marketing.
I watched it.
It was marketing, but I don't think. I think it did show me something about how much age matters.
There was a woman fight before it, and it was one of the best fights I've seen in a long time.
I didn't watch that one, but I was doing something for that fight, but I watched the fight before that, and that was actually a really good fight too. Like those two Mexican guys.
The two girls beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah. So we're talking. Did I say Mike Tyson, Jake Paul?
You didn't.
I hate to say. I might believe about Jake Paul.
Logan Paul.
Whoever it was.
Jake fought. Logan was the one trying to do all the marketing stuff behind him. All right, moving on. So she's like, damn, all right, maybe instead of getting a ship over there, I'll get a ship at Maidenpool. And I'll stop around, maybe ask Nimble a couple questions as I continue my journey north. I'll just get a ship there. So bam, she hangs out in the common room. It's chatty. They're talking shit on Jamie and how Tywin died and whatnot. And really, what ticks her off is the talking shit on Jamie. And she's like,
does she know Tywin died?
She does now.
If she heard the rumors,
she doesn't know about. Like, I think early in the episode I kind of hinted that she knows more than she should about that. That was wrong. I think this is probably her learning about Tywin's
I was gonna say I thought she kind of left before any of that stuff really happened. So that was.
I would agree. Yeah.
So okay.
Yep.
Wait, actually, there was a weird line. I think it was when she was thinking about Tyrion. Like, could Tyrion be with be with them that made me think like, wait a minute, did Jaime tell Brienne that he was?
Could the
gonna,
imp have joined them? If Tyrion Lannister were behind Sansa's disappearance and not Dante's hollered, it stood to reason they would need to flee across the narrow sea.
like
So
maybe it was that, just like her, like when she left, Tyrion is gonna be killed. How could he be? I don't know. You know what I mean? So I think that's the line I was thinking of. But to me, it almost alluded to that Jaime might have like said something to her about what he was gonna do with Tyrion. But I doubt it. Right? I don't think so.
I don't know.
I honestly don't know, so I don't think it comes up again, but I think it's potentially a thing. But yeah, sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
Brienne leaves the common room, goes to sleep, has a dream about Renly. He's in his armor, and Shadow comes in and kills him.
It's a dream of the night Renly died.
Yeah. But not Renly, it's Jaime.
Yep. And just earlier when she was thinking about the fight, I wanted to mention when she was thinking of the fight with Jaime, she does also think that Jaime saved her from
The awful stuff, yeah.
the Bloody Mummers, specifically Zolo, Roarg, and Shagwell, who were trying to violate her. Yep. Just because I saw them, I had a link to the notes. I got to mention the names.
So Captain Sister finds her with the shield, comes back. It's a picture, than a coat of arms.
How about Brienne's breakfast? I sent this to you guys earlier today. Did you try this, Kyle? I told Kyle to try Brienne's breakfast here.
There's too many eggs, I said. Cup of milk and honey with 3 eggs mixed in.
3 raw eggs.
I didn't drink
That's
this
a Rocky
today.
Balboa.
I told you guys what my pop-up used to do to me in middle school, right?
What?
He used to make me drink what he called protein shakes, which was like a little bit of ice cream, milk, and then raw egg. And he would blend it up for me. And it was my protein shakes to gain weight because I was too small in like 6th, 7th grade. And like when you blended the eggs, like they got all frothy and it was like the worst shake ever.
That's what I was wondering, because like me and Steve, Jeff's the only person who knows that is, we used to shotgun beers and crack an egg into it. And that goes down real smooth. Like
Why would you do that?
When you don't mix it up, hold up. What do you mean? Why would you do it? You just get extra protein in your shotgun. Like for going to a tailgate in the morning or something like that. And just like,
Nobody did it. They did it because it was stupid.
Yeah,
we did it like twice for the camera,
To
for the
prove a
gram,
point. Okay.
probably.
For Snapchat on
Exactly.
New Year's.
Vine, do
but
it for the Vine.
Honestly, like it was not bad. Like Steve did it, and I was like, "That looks gross." And then I did it, and I was like,
Yeah, they kind of slide down.
I don't even know if I would have known there was an egg in there if you didn't tell me," type thing. So it's like but it says mixed in. To Jeff's point, it says mixed in.
Yeah, but they didn't have a blender, so I don't know that got frosty.
How mixed in it was.
They got a fork and they went twice, and then, and it was
it was whatever. Again,
Brienne just Gastoning it out here.
the painter lady comes back with her shield. We've mentioned it. It's Dunk's sigil.
It's green leaves of a tree and a falling star.
Yep.
So it's a tree and a star. Is why Dunk. I thought I remembered him doing that. So
Yeah, and this is all we hear of it. So I think we're fine to talk about this a little bit here. Why would Dunk's shield be at Evenfall, Tarth?
They sold it at an auction after he died.
I don't fucking know.
I mean, Brienne's huge, Dunk's huge. Fans like to think that there's somehow a relationship here.
Nelson.
Okay.
No, this is like a fan accepted theory.
It's the stupidest
You
theory.
think Dunk is her great uncle or dad or
So
something?
I think the only other part we have of this is George has verified that a character, not a POV character, but a character in our story, like I said earlier, there's 8,000 named ones, is a descendant of Dunk. George has verified that.
Doesn't make sense.
So most people say Brienne saw his shield in the father's armory.
Why wouldn't he just tell you? That's a stupid thing to.
And I've gone over this with Nelson. It doesn't make sense. So it's.
There's one other character that is a possibility, but the only hint towards it hasn't happened yet, so I'm not going to mention it. But
and that's
we'll
fair.
talk
And
about
I
that
was
later.
going to ask why doesn't it make sense, but we haven't read the last Dunk book, and so let's not get there yet. But
Yep.
okay.
But and again, that's partly, I think, to Jeff's point, why I love all the Brienne chapters is like I'm biased in my head.
knew it.
It's headcanon. They're related. Like for sure. So and like that's the thing is like if we never get wins a winner, then they're definitely related. Like it's just a fact. Like if it's never proved one way or the other, that's just how it goes down.
So she gave this lady a huge tip, got some food, and left. Right?
Yeah.
Heading out.
Heads out, walks through a battlefield. A lot of the dead.
This is the discussion we had earlier, where the locals were brought inside. The wolves are in a big pit outside with a sign. Well, it's buried. It sounds
Here
like, but
lie the wolves.
sign that just says "Here lie the wolves."
Yep. And then it makes her think about Kat the day that she heard her sons had passed, and just kind of the interactions there, and how she felt kind of talking with Kat. It was a little bit weird for her, But then she also mentioned Sansa. This is kind of the first time she learned of who Sansa was, and even a little bit of Arya. But she's kind of chalked that Arya's lost, probably dead.
Yep, and again, I think the sight of all the dead Northerners, thinking of that moment, Brienne thinks she basically swears again in her mind, like, I'll never stop looking. I'll die if I need to be. I'll give my life if need be. I'll give up my honor, all my dreams. I will find her. So it's like, okay, we're committed. We're committed.
We're all in on this mission.
Like, honestly, because last chapter it sounded like Brienne was kind of like, this is pointless. Like, what am I doing?
I mean,
like,
it is pretty futile for sure, and I think that's kind of the point of these long chapters, meandering chapters, right? Like, this was something I wanted to say at the beginning. And
they don't stop, Kyle. So they don't go back. They don't go back to the normal.
Well, I meant that's like why her chapters are like that, right? That's kind of what her experience is right now too, right? It's just kind of aimlessly searching. She doesn't really have many leads, and it's a big place.
Yep, exactly.
It's a big place. So she follows a couple fish towns up. She buys some crabs for some cats. She's trying. Along the way, she just gets made fun of for being a woman knight, and that kind of pisses her off. So she just starts wearing her helm everywhere until she gets to a spot where it's like, all right, I can't make it to Maidenpool yet, right? I need to take some shelter, and it's starting to rain.
It's raining pretty good now, and there's a fork in the road, and she knows which way goes where. But it seems like, there's ruins. We're at the fork. It's a good spot to stay for the night. It seems like what she's thinking. We don't get there, but. Yeah, she pulls up in
Broken down Hollard Castle. You mentioned that. She finds the sigil somewhere, and
old Hollard Castle. Yep. This gives me Bran vibes, right? He's literally
Queen's
in
Castle
gold,
or whatever.
Wasn't there ruins? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like when Jon was there, wasn't he like in the ruins of an old town, like of the village? Like, and so Jon's in the ruins. Bran's up in this tower that has a crown painted on the top. And
I said that earlier.
Like, oh, you did. Sorry. It's just like, it's just like, I don't know why, but like, this is
Bran's
super
castle,
strong
but I think, but I meant his tower, but yeah.
I mean, just ruins in general, right? Like, Cat on the way up to the twins with Robb, they stop at Old Stones. That's where Merritt Frey, the epilogue chapter, where he meets Zombie Cat, right?
Let me say that I mean, we are in a place of conquest here, and so like ruins are probably everywhere, right?
Yeah, but Old Stones. So it's interesting. Old Stones was like old ruins. This is the Hollard Castle. This is like 20 years ago. Like, this is fresh ruins where Brienne is now. So again, does that matter? I don't know, but like,
this is 20 years ago. Oh yeah, I guess Aries. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you walk up on this, like, it's not. This will be way more fresh than Old Stones. Is all I guess I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah. That's fair. All my point was like, I guess it's not crazy for this place of. We've heard of all these families getting wiped out. We keep learning of new ones that existed and none are left and stuff like that. So it's not that absurd that there's kind of these busted castles everywhere.
I think it's a big waste that they just let these castles go.
Well, at Old Stones, they said, I think Jon and Cat, or Robb and Cat had said in that chapter, like, we're all the stones, and Cat's like, the small folk come to take them to build their shit. Again, I think Brienne does mention there's a lot thrown around here, but I think it's because it's fresh, so they haven't had.
As we know, when people take over, they elevate somebody else into the spot.
Yeah, that's true. Just put somebody else there, rebuild it. Yeah,
but I mean, it doesn't. You don't have to rebuild every little house.
Well, and two, I think this is one of the things where it's like, hey, these guys fucked with us. We're making a lesson out of them.
Reigns of Castamere.
Yep.
All right, so bam. Ooh, she settles in a little bit. What's that noise? Someone else coming up the road. Let me get into the shadows. Batman mode really quick, and it's a man, and it's a small man.
Oh, it's probably Sir Shadrick.
Oh,
yeah.
He's gonna underestimate me. This has happened to me before. Then we get a little Brienne history.
Yeah, men don't think much of me as a fighter because I'm a woman.
Somebody tried to essentially take her to marry, right?
I think Dad set it up. I think Dad set it up, and the dude was like, "Look, you're gonna put all this sword fighting stuff behind when you're my wife.
Toxic masculinity.
I need you to get, do your job as my wife."
Exactly.
She's like, "Well, I'm not gonna be chastised unless you can beat me in a fight."
Yep.
And she beat the shit out of him.
It was even better than that, though. She said, I'm not going to listen to some asshole that can't even beat me in a fight. It's pretty much what she said.
Literally make me.
Yeah.
Make me, bitch. Is what Brienne calls this guy out on. And he's 65, she's 16, and she whoops that ass. She breaks his collarbone, breaks a couple of ribs, and breaks a betrothal.
And with a blunted mace, right?
With a blunted mace.
With like practice stuff. Which is also weird that she's not with a mace anymore.
Well, I feel like a sword is like your daily driver. But like if you know, like it's the eve of battle and you're about to go into a big battle tomorrow.
She's pulling out a mace.
Is that her go-to? Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm guessing, right?
I don't know. She was 16. Maybe she was just using shit.
I think Dunk has said the same thing. Like he says like, oh, my strength makes me better with like a hammer or a mace than I am with a sword.
Sword and shield.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but she also was trained in a way to tire men out, right? People.
Yep, Sir Goodwin, her master at arms. It seems like good master at arms. Especially, he's like training her to her strength. He's a good coach.
It's great strategy. It's Rocky. It's the old Rocky 3 strategy.
Rope-a-dope.
Well, he's teaching her to her strengths too, right? Like again, like I feel like a problem in like the NFL is a coach trying to coach players to his system.
Square peg, round hole.
It works a lot better exactly when you make this, you model the system around what you got. Where this guy's like, okay, I got Brienne. She's a woman, and he's telling her, hey, you're a woman. Everyone's gonna want to beat your ass.
Everyone's trying to knock you out in the first round. You need to go to the distance.
Exactly. It just makes them look bad, even if they have to go to round 2. So they're gonna go crazy at the get-go. Just play defensive, turtle up, hold back, and then when they're tired, strike out. And he says, like, you're strong. But again, kind of tempering my Brienne thoughts, you're as strong as most knights, is what he says.
Yeah.
So she's not like, I always thought she was like freakish strong like the Hound. Like she's big, but again, she is a woman, so she's like, she's not at a disadvantage strength wise, but she doesn't seem to be at a huge advantage from what this guy says. She's quick though, and she has stamina, which is important.
She's quicker for most women her size, and she's got the gift of stamina.
And stamina is what the guy says. Like people underestimate stamina because sword fights can become like a slog, where it's really like a boxing match, right? Like you just get who's gonna be able to wear out.
We were wearing heavy fucking armor and swinging a heavy sword around. Like, I mean, you get tired quick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
and she's like, well, the Mad Mouse is definitely, he'd try to get rid of me quick if he's gonna fight me. So time to turtle up. Yeah. But she stalks him a little bit. She's like, all right, this cat's looking for me. Like, let me see where this guy's going. He's walking down. Well, he walks on by, right? So he walks on by. He
takes the road to Maidenpool, doesn't think twice, doesn't even look at the castle, and Brienne realizes who it is.
Yeah, it's the boy again. So she's like, what the fuck's this kid doing? Rides up, slaps him on the ass with the flat of her sword, knocks him down, really slaps the ass of the horse, right? Which throws him off.
Yeah, rears him.
And she's just like, pointing the sword, who the fuck are you? What are you doing following me? Today, Junior.
Please? You saying please? Please tell me who you are and where you're following me. He's like, not please. Not please.
Podrick
Payne.
She's like, what the fuck are you doing here, 10-year-old guy out by yourself? Like, that's not safe for a 10-year-old boy.
Then I think George had a copy-paste error.
Oh, no.
Because it says something about like she felt bad for the boy. She remembered a day at evenfall. And then we go back to this like memory of Brienne that's, I can't find out how this has anything to do with Podrick falling in the mud.
I know how it, because it's the time that she stuttered.
Oh, she wasn't able to speak. Gotcha. Yeah. She's shy like him.
She was shy. So she's like, damn, all right, this kid's shy. Like, I remember at the time I was shy.
Gotcha. That makes sense. I did realize by the end of the chapter that she seemed to be relating to Podrick for the stuttering and shyness thing, but I didn't realize that that's what the point of this quote was. But yeah. So the other thing is, in this quote, and Kyle had asked about this last time in the last Brienne chapter, there was a mention of this rose. Brienne was talking about when Renly had come to see her. Her father welcomed him to the feast and commanded her to attend, elsewise she would have hidden in her room like some wounded beast. She had been no older than Sansa, more afraid of sniggers than swords. They will know about the rose, she told Lord Selwyn. They will laugh at me. But the Evenstar would not relent, and Renly Baratheon had shown her every courtesy, as if she were a proper maid and pretty. So she's afraid that the people who are coming now are going to have heard of this event, I think, is what we're insinuating there.
Which it sounds like the rose was like somebody tried to like ask her out, essentially, but she was too shy and embarrassed to accept it, right?
Yep, exactly. You want to read that little quote right there with her memory, Kyle?
She remembered a day at evenfall, and a young knight with a rose in his hand. He brought the rose to give to me, or so her Septa had told her. All she had to do was welcome him to her father's castle. He was 18, with long red hair that tumbled to his shoulders. She was 12, tightly laced into a stiff new gown, its bodice bright with garnets. The two of them were of a height, but she could not look him in the eye, nor say the simple words her Septa had taught her. Sir Ronnet, I welcome you to my lord father's hall. It is good to look upon your face at last.
Yep.
Poor Brienne.
We don't get this guy's last name. We get his first name, Ronnet, but we've only ever heard of one other Ronnet. And I think it's interesting. The only time we've heard of this other guy, his name's Ronnet Connington, and is called Red Ronnet Connington, which is interesting because I think this guy has red hair.
Yeah.
Actually, we've heard of him twice. He was fighting in the 28 when Cat first gets to Bitterbridge, and he was getting his ass beat by Brienne. And then he shows up in a Sansa chapter after the Battle of Blackwater with like all the Renly people who are switching sides. So those are the two times we've heard of Red Ronnet before. So I just think it's cool that Brienne seems to have had a bad situation with this guy, and then we know she's not married to him now, and she was beating his ass the first time we see him in this Cat chapter. So again, that's early Clash of Kings, right? So I love that.
Cool. Kyle, thoughts? Brienne going to maiden pool with pod, without pod?
Well, hang on, man. Yeah. So why are you following me? Is what she starts interrogating him here. Right?
We didn't finish up. Yeah.
No. And like, why were you told to spy on me? Varys of the Queen, and he's like, no, Tyrion left me, man.
The hands
like,
guy. I'm the hand.
Yeah.
I'm the hand.
Well,
spy.
yeah. I did summarize a whole bunch there, and so
yeah. No, it's cool.
Yeah, it's
she's like, what? You're actually Tywin's guy after me?
Yeah. Yeah, the hands guy? No, not Tywin.
No, much
half
much
man. I like how he doesn't even call him fucking Tyrion. He's like, the imp at battle, I was shouting half man. Like, why would you say that instead of Tyrion?
Hey, besides Sansa, Tyrion, Podrick might be the youngest cat on the frag count. So
true.
Saving lives in a battle so Brienne thinks he's 10 to 12. I think his actual age is 13 or 14. But again, still, like, kid's a kid.
So yeah, so she's like, I didn't know he had she's thinking to herself, I didn't know he had a squire. Tyrion's not a knight. And pretty much this is when he says what I was saying, like, why are you stalking me? And he's like, I'm just looking for Tyrion, man. Like I think he's gonna be with Sansa, and he left me behind without even saying goodbye.
Which isn't quite true, because I went back to the last time we saw Pod and I got that quote. This was when Tyrion's in jail. When Tyrion's in jail, he keeps sending Pod to get people. Go get Bronn, go get Varys, go get blah, 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 blah. Most of the people don't come and see him, exactly, except for those two.
That was before the fight, even though, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But Tyrion says, Pod, tell me true. Do you think I did it? This is a Tyrion chapter, so we're from Tyrion's point of view. Pod, tell me true. Do you think I did it? The boy hesitated. When he tried to speak, all he managed to produce was a weak sputter. I'm doomed, Tyrion sighed. No need to answer. You've been a good squire to me. Better than I deserved. Whatever happens, I thank you for your loyal service. So when I read this chapter, even on this when I read that quote, even on this read through, I thought that Pod thought Tyrion did it. Right, but now that we're kind of talking about how sputtery he is, maybe he was gonna say, I think you're innocent. He just couldn't get it out.
Maybe he just didn't know how to get his thoughts out.
He just couldn't get it out, exactly. So, because he seems very loyal, to Kyle's point, he seems very loyal to Tyrion still, right? Like, would you be following Brienne around looking for Tyrion if you thought that he had just killed Joffrey? I mean, maybe, if that's your only, I guess it's the only thing you got, but.
It's definitely his Pod's claim to fame currently is Tyrion. So, yeah. I mean, I guess in that sense, but at the same time, not that he even has that much claim to fame, but it's like that was his biggest duty currently. So, yeah, he's kind of bound to him in a way, and without him, he doesn't really have a cause, it feels like. And he was like, if you're 13 and you're stuck in the city and you don't know what else the fuck to do, right? Like,
yeah, and you were the squire to the one everyone hates now. It's not like you're gonna be like, hey,
yeah, exactly.
Put that on your resume. It's not gonna help out.
Yeah, it was Tyrion squire. Yeah. Oh, you had to kill a king. Yeah. Did you kill Tywin? Yeah.
We didn't bring it up, but in this chapter, there's a point where Brienne says she had to talk to one of Sansa's maids who's washing clothes at a brothel now because she was a maid for Renly and then she was a maid for Sansa. So now no one will have her because
everybody
just
dies.
Brings traitorness to her. Yeah, exactly. So, yep.
Yeah, Brella got the short end of the stick for sure.
Yeah.
As we were reading through it, I hate to say it so much, but like I kind of got a little more on Jeff's side there, where it was a little like, all right, yeah, this is a little meandering and long, but at the same point, it was kind of what I said earlier.
That's because I'm boring. Don't blame the chapter. Hopefully the fans don't agree.
Well, I mean, I think it's the point too, though, like of it is that she's
on a
meandering and lost. So the chapter is meandering and lost, right? Yeah, so it's kind of fitting, but. Yeah, I mean, so after seeing the map and everything, I don't know why she would go down Crackclaw Point, which is the other way on the Y here. So I think she is headed to Maidenpool, it sounds like. And I mean, why wouldn't she take Pod? I don't know that she has a reason not to currently. Like, you can't send this little kid back. Like, what are you gonna do? So maybe she's gonna be like,
Extra
well, I'm gonna take
baggage.
you and send you home on the next ship from Maidenpool or something like that. But I think they're headed there together at the very least.
Roger that.
All right, sign off.
All right, we'll see you guys. We'll see Kyle in the next one for
I didn't see it. No idea.
Sansa?
new chapter, new character. Not new, but first time this book.
Yeah, it's Sansa. Yeah, Sansa.
Well, I mean, like I said, some of the chapters from last book we're not going to get again until Dance. So
I know.
anytime
Might
we
be
see
Dany.
somebody first time, maybe Dany.
That's one of my guesses. I don't care. We're not going through. I'm not going to go through my whole list right now. Who I don't think we're going to see. It's not worth it.
We'll do it later when we have more time. See you in the next one for Sansa 1. See you guys in the spoiler section. Bye, Kyle.
Bye.
Later, nerds.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Bye, Kyle.
Bye, Kyle. Thanks for hanging out with us.
See you on the next one. Now, on to the spoiler section. Jeff, what we got?
Spoiler alert. All right. So I don't know. I don't think there's too many in this. I think Pod ends up staying with her the whole time, right? They never leave each other's side, obviously.
Do you want to do a little Pod show versus book talk? Your thoughts? Talked about it a little bit in the non-spoiler, I guess.
Yeah. I never
You
really
like
liked
Showpod.
I never really liked Showpod. No,
Oh, no?
I thought
Okay.
he became way too good of a knight, like too quick, like cocky and shit, and like
So I was thinking the same thing, but
he
now
became like the best fighter in the realm, like out of nowhere, like just beating Brienne. Not beating Brienne, but like
well, okay, so
I'm sure they trained a whole lot, right? There's a whole lot of training that we didn't see.
no, I guess what I was gonna say is I used to think the same thing. That Pod, like, yeah, we see that scene towards the end, whatever it is, season 8, where he's like holding his own with Brienne, and she even gives a look like, "Wow, I'm kind of surprised with how good you are." And I thought, yeah, it's kind of forced. But I think what's cool is I feel like they're definitely, and you even said it. Like I was like, "What's the point of this?" Like quote about Red Ronnet. And it's to compare, like, that they're both shy and stuttery. Like, she says it a few times. She's shy. We know Pod stutters. He looks at his feet.
and then they get their confidence.
Why? Yeah, exactly. I think that's kind of it. Is like I think they're very similar in all aspects, and maybe more than just that, right? Like, we don't know that Pod's a great fighter, but he is a 13-year-old kid who went into a fucking battle.
Yeah, no, like
And
respect,
killed a man.
respect the Pod,
Yeah.
respect the Pod. I'm saying Showpod, like I guess he did the same thing in the battle, right?
But in the battle, he's Showpod's 17.
He's older. He looks like a man.
Yeah, this is a kid in a
And
battlefield.
I thought like the sex joke with Pod is funny in the show, right? Like that was great.
Yeah, for sure. Pod the Rod. Everybody loves Pod the Rod.
His relationship with Tyrion and Bronn is really cool in the show. I don't know. I didn't care for him singing at all in the show. You got all geeked up about it. I thought it was
It's just the song. That's Jenny's song.
yeah, but you liked that Pod sang it too. Like you were
It
all
sounds
geeked
good.
up.
Well, I don't know if I
Okay.
necessarily like that.
Nah,
Pod,
you were
the
all geeked up
character
for
sang
Pod
it.
singing it and like.
There's
oh
no
my
story
gosh.
reason that Pod should know that song, like that song any more than anybody else. But like it was a cool moment. Like they're all getting ready for the battle. I didn't hate it. I'll stand by that.
That episode stunk, and you loved that whole episode.
Episode 2 is the best episode of season 8.
That's not true.
That's my opinion.
Your opinions are always wrong.
So along with
I don't know,
Pod,
Pod's
I think
fine.
one of the cool things with Pod is Podrick Payne. So like you said, he's gonna become better at sword fighting because he's gonna start doing what?
Spider Manning.
Training with Brienne.
Well, I said that already.
Okay, so Jamie, at the same time, he's gonna go off. Cersei
train
said,
with
"I'm gonna give you battlefields."
train with his offhand.
And and who does he train with? We need someone to train with. In the show, it's
Oh, it's Bronn in the show. It's Payne because he can't talk to anybody, which is kind of stupid because he probably could write if he wanted to.
he could charades it. I mean, I play a lot of charades in college. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a fucking god. If I couldn't talk, it would take a little longer, but I would get by.
If you couldn't
just
talk,
fine.
you should be really good. You should be a pro. You should be a pro
I'll give-
trader.
I mean, especially if you're using like the cheat words, like sounds like. I mean, it's just
That's
a
the
gimme.
stupidest way to play charades. That should be banned.
It's just a gimme if you're doing it that way. Like it would take no time.
If I play charades with you and you're giving me like 2 words, sounds like we're not playing anymore.
I mean, if it's a tough one, sometimes you got to go to some of those.
Nah,
but yeah,
you
you should
don't.
try and avoid
You
it
actually
at all possible. Charades are great.
I'm actually a big Pictionary fan over probably charades.
They're all great.
Pictionary is better than charades, especially if you're doing sounds like it's a movie. Like that's stupid shit.
I'll say disagree. I disagree. Charades is a peak game.
If
9
you
out of
take
10
out
game.
if you take
Pictionary's
out
8.
all like the code word, it's a movie, it's a book, it's 2 words, sounds
Yeah,
like
but it's
this.
like half the time it's a movie. Only you're doing it to like 7 people, and only 2 of the people are gonna know the movie because it's like To Kill a Mockingbird, and everybody's a fucking Zoomer. So like,
Yeah,
you know
you're
what
not
I mean?
getting
Like
that. You're not getting that name.
at
in
that point,
charades.
movie doesn't even really help.
No. You're getting like Harry Potter, and you're gonna be like, it's a book, 4 words, scar on his head.
No. We used to do this in college when we would have games on Saturday. We would on Friday we didn't have anything to do. We couldn't drink, so we would do charades. We'd go hard on charades, and you would get To Kill a Mockingbird. You'd get fucking Silence of the Lambs, like movies that people don't know.
You could do that.
Clarice.
You could do that so easy.
Silence.
You just got it.
No, I just want to play charades now. All right. Moving on. So the point there was Jamie starts training with a pain. Brienne starts training with a pain.
It's a cool parallel
there. I don't know
You
if
can
it's
see
on
them.
purpose or not.
You can
but
see them go on split screen on a scene by scene.
for sure. What else?
All right. So the biggest one I have that I thought was the most interesting thing that I read in this chapter is when Brienne said, "I will give up my honor to find Sansa."
Yeah. So go ahead. You can elaborate before I say
So
what I think.
I don't exactly remember the path that Brienne takes. I know I don't remember who all she runs into. I know at the end she needs to show up or they're gonna kill Jamie, right?
Yep.
And
Well, so I think you're on the right track. Brienne does have a story, this whole book, and I like it, but I don't think that what you're talking about now relates to that. I think what you're talking about now relates to the end of Brienne's story, which is when she gets captured by the Brotherhood. She's gonna get hung, and they're telling her, you have to go kill Jaime Lannister.
yes.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
So I think that's when her honor is gonna be...
Her honors. But it's not even like, I guess she has honor towards Jamie. I was almost saying like she hasn't found Sansa. And did she find Sansa? Did she even meet? Like, she's not even close, right? So
Yeah.
I'm just saying at some point, like, maybe it's this Jamie thing, which I don't know if this really tests her honor, maybe tests her loyalty.
Well, so what people, I think the fan thought here is, and people call, I think maybe Preston coined this term, but I like it, called the Jamie dilemma, where it's what Jamie says to Cat when Cat comes to him at the end of Clash of Kings when he's in the cell. He's like, your oaths say to obey your father and protect the king. But what if your father wants to kill the king? What if, like, protect
Right.
the innocent? What if the king wants to burn
Right.
thousands of innocent? It's like, it's too much. Like, you're disobeying one vow or the next. So, and then Brienne and Jamie meet, and Brienne is like scolding Jamie, like, how could you do this? How could you do this? How could you do this? And then he kind of, in the bath, he kind of presents this to her. He's like, what would you, he doesn't really say it, but he's like,
Right.
here's my position. I
He
was
presents where his mind was at.
protecting the innocent or defending the king were my 2 options. They couldn't both be done. I did what I had to do. So the thought is Brienne at some point is herself going to be faced with this. You made 2 vows.
Yeah.
Choose.
Well, and if it is at this point at the end of her storyline
Yep.
that we have, I would assume it would be like, all right, she's going to make a promise to the Brotherhood and break that oath to not kill Jamie. I don't foresee her killing Jamie because I think this chapter really
Exactly.
shows
And
that
that's
she
her-
loves Jamie.
I think it's interesting, right? Because I 100% agree with you. But what in this chapter, what is she saying? She's saying, I'm going to find Sansa. So forget about the
Right.
Jamie part. She's breaking the oath. So I guess don't forget about the Jamie part. She's going to, I agree. I think what she's going to happen, where the last thing we see of Brienne is she's being hung. And they say, you can say sword if you agree to kill, I forget what it is, but something like if you can
And
say
she yells
sword.
She yells sword, right?
And
Or-
it said the last thing is like she looked over and saw Podrick being hung because it's hanging. I think they're hanging her, Podrick, and Hyle Hunt all, unless Brienne agrees to kill Jamie. And she looks over at Podrick, sees him being hung, and then the chapter ends with like Brienne said a word. So we don't know what it is, but like the assumption is she says sword. She's gonna agree to go
She
kill
said,
Jamie.
Do it.
My thought is she's going to say, no, I'm not going to go kill Jamie, but I'm going to fulfill my oath to Cat. I'm going to find Sansa. So then she's going to come back to the Brotherhood to Cat with her daughter and maybe Jamie alive, and her and Jamie together. I think this would be the coolest situation. Present Sansa,
back to Zombie Cat.
and Zombie Cat kills them anyway. I think that would be...
And that's the end of the storyline.
I think that would kind of be a cool ending for Brienne and Jamie. Is
And
they
they-
both
and-
die
and
by
Cat-
fulfilling their, like, they both have done the whole, do the right thing the whole time, and they die by it at the end of the day. Like by the
And
being
then
the right.
Cat kills Sansa too, because Zombie Cat doesn't remember Sansa.
I haven't thought about that, but I kind of think that's how. And I don't know if I believe this is how it would end, but I think that would be a cool ending to like along.
Has anyone else been on this ending with you?
I'm sure someone has. I haven't read it anywhere, so I'll say that's an original thought by me. Again, a lot of that is
it's your best original thought that you've ever had, because it is an actual original thought.
Again, I'm not going to claim more than I am. The whole thing where people think that Brienne, in the moment she is at the end of the story, is an intentional parallel to Jaime, being like, hey, you're going to have to choose between two O's. You can't keep them both. That much I think is true.
Yeah.
The whole that I think a cool ending would be they both, Jaime and Brienne, fulfill their oath, but get held accountable for their other oaths that maybe they didn't fulfill.
What if they made Jaime and Brienne fight one last time? Because that was mentioned a lot.
I think you could, dude. That would be really interesting, especially if Jaime got good with his left. And like I said,
So
in this chapter,
say he does bring Jaime, and then like you give the dilemma to both of them, like.
Well, I mean, in that situation, I just filled out. Technically, Jaime hasn't broken any of his vows. He has returned Sansa. I guess he hasn't returned Arya in this situation, but. There's even a part in the Jaime story later in this book where when he gets to River Run, the reason he sends Edmure in, and he does it brutally, he says, Edmure, if you don't do this, I'm going to fling your baby over the walls in a catapult. But the reason he does it in his head, he's saying, if this works, then I can keep my vow that I never drew the blood of River, like, you know what I mean? Like I never crossed swords or fought Riverlanders again. So he's doing it in a fucked up way, but he's doing it to like, again, keep his vow to Cat. So it'd be interesting if Brienne and Jaime deliver Sansa and somehow Brienne gets killed because she didn't kill Jaime and Jaime gets let go.
Yeah.
Because he technically never actually raised arms against Starks or Tullys and did bring Sansa back. So, I think somewhere along those lines is where the Brienne Jaime story is going to go, and I think it's going to be cool. I think it's a lot about what you're saying, this whole honor thing. Like, yeah.
That was the biggest thing that stuck up, other than her obviously being in love with Jaime now.
Yeah, she keeps picturing Jaime where Renly was. There was one quote where she gets into the Hollard Castle, and when she's walking in, she says, of the door, only rusted iron hinges remained. I don't know why this relates to this chapter, but again, I told you rusted iron hinges, those 3 words like in a row, are things we're going to look out for, because that's Aeron Damphair remembering Euron coming in
to rape him
and his brother Yuri. Yeah, so I think we've heard it once before, even before Aeron chapters, but it's to me that's one of those kind of weird buzzwords that kind of pops up every once in a while. Here I have no idea. It doesn't seem to relate to anything. Along those lines, Dawn. There's a lot of mentions of Dawn while she's waiting outside Duskendale.
Yeah,
we bring it up every time it's mentioned. It's literally said probably like 10 times in this chapter. Dawn or pre-dawn.
I read it and didn't even like.
It's one of the times where I don't think it means anything, unless there's like some meta symbolism of like
it's
Brienne
just literally Dawn.
Again, pre-dawn showing up in the long night. Brienne is outside a gate, but again, I feel like a lot of times I'm just big stretches when I'm talking about Dawn at this point. Sometimes it seems really meaningful, and sometimes it just seems like they're talking about the sun coming up.
It's just the time of the day.
Yeah. So, and the last thing, Fool to Fool. I think this is interesting. Kyle thinks this is Patch Face.
Yeah, I don't even recall
Shagwell.
The mountain man?
Varga Hote's man. One of the ones that when I went back at one point, I was like, hey, and Jaime did save her from Zolo, Rorgan, Shagwell at one point from the raping. It's because Shagwell is this fool. He was the one who...
Was he always wearing motley, like in the cells and whatnot, too?
Yeah, I think he used to make fun of... He made fun of Arya for weasel soup.
Yeah, I don't remember Shagwell because in the show he's not in motley. Like
he's not Shagwell isn't. There is no Shagwell in the show.
You sure? There was 3 men. There was a Jack and there was a...
No, Jack and Rorgan Biter. Shagwell is one of Varga Hote's men. Varga Hote is in the show.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember Shagwell then.
So there's a point. I think we talked about it earlier. It was probably in Clash. When was Arya in Harrenhal?
2 books ago.
Yep. So Shagwell and Arya 7, Clash of Kings, Bloody the Bloody Mummers get to Harrenhal. Arya's there. Arya watches the Bloody Mummers enter, including Shagwell. And Arya 9, Weasel Soup. After Weasel Soup, he cuts off some heads of the old guards and makes them talk. So the guards that Arya had killed, Shagwell cuts off their heads and makes two of them talk. One says, "What did you die of? Hot weasel soup," replied the second. So I think this is funny because
he made a puppet show out of the dead heads.
He cut off the heads. So I think this is funny because Brienne, full to full, this is Shagwell. I think it's Shagwell. It's two other bloody mummers. It's Pig and Timian, I think, who he's seeking passage for. But so Brienne meets Nimble Dick. Nimble Dick takes Brienne to where he told the fool to go to. Basically, he told the fool to go to this place where smugglers used to go, but they don't go anymore.
I remember it's a cave. It's like a cave-ish type of thing, right?
It's a cave called the Whispers because all the stories and all the small folk. When you're there, it sounds like there's people whispering. And the story that small folks say is it's because there's all these heads. I forget. We probably learn more about where the heads came from, but there's like heads that are hanging up all over the place in the Whispers, and you can hear them whispering to each other.
Right.
And Brienne goes there. Instead of finding Danto, she finds Shagwell, ends up killing Shagwell. I think it's interesting that one of the first times we meet Shagwell, he has these two heads that are talking to each other, and then Brienne goes to kill Shagwell at a place called the Whispers, which is known for like these weird talk heads that are like whispering to each other.
Yeah. Okay.
So, again, maybe that's a bit of a stretch. I think that one's more.
Wait, so what was the first fool? What was the first fool to fool? He fooled a guy into these Whispers and just killed him.
The Whispers used to be a big smuggler hideout, but like I think over time the water has like kind of turned it more into a cliff face that you can't get to, so they don't go there anymore. But Nimble Dick basically said like, "Hey, if you give me some money, I'll tell you where you can find some smugglers, and they're there all the time." And Shagwell gave him some money, and Nimble Dick told him to go to the Whispers, but there's no smugglers that go there anymore, so no one's gonna pick him up. So he fooled a fool by taking Shagwell's money by telling him where to go, but there's no one's gonna pick him up.
Yeah, there's not a ship there.
Exactly. So that's
who was Shagwell getting passage for?
Him, Timian, and Pig. So three of the bloody mummers, because Vargo Hope got killed by the mountain at Harrenhal. So now all the bloody mummers are on their own. I think it's him, Timian, and Pig. I can check.
Gotcha. Why couldn't he just go on a normal boat over?
Well, Randall Tarley knows who the Vargo Hote is and his men, I guess, is the thought, right? Because he's at Maiden Pool looking for passage, but what we hear in this chapter, he's at Maiden Pool looking for passage, but trying to avoid guards.
When I read that, I was a little confused because I thought Nimble Dick was the fool.
Yeah.
And I thought he was trying to say that he fooled Tarley, not fooled an actual other fool, but just me misunderstanding.
Yeah. Shagwell, Pig, and Timian. Yep, those are the three that go. Yep, so that was one. Did I have anything else? That might have been it.
Yeah, I don't have much else from this chapter. Any reasons at this point? I know we've talked about like the split of the chapters and whatnot, but like, why did he just say like, all right, let me make these chapters 8 pages longer on average?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. It's weird. Like the book is a lot. The book has way less chapters.
Yeah,
we're a quarter of the way through the book already. Not quite. We'll be like 2 or 3 more weeks. We'll be a quarter of the way through the book. Whereas Storm of Swords, that took us, you know what I mean, way longer.
Yeah.
So it almost just seems like the book's just as long as the other books, it's just less chapters. So I don't know why he did it. I think Kyle's probably right that it has something to do with because half the characters are new.
Yeah, it's almost like a book for them.
But it's weird. Like that doesn't make sense because so far the long chapters have been like not the new ones. They've been the last 3 have been the longest. Cersei, Jaime, Brienne. We know all of them already. Not Arion, not Ario.
Even though we like who cares about Duskendale? Like you don't need the world build out Duskendale that hard.
So again, we don't. That's maybe we would have said that. Like what's something that maybe when in Clash of Kings. I guess it's Game of Thrones. Maybe in Game of Thrones when Rob, if we would have been huge fans when just Game of Thrones was out, you might have been saying, why are we spending so much time at the twins? Why is Kat going in and talking to Walder Frey? Like no one cares about the twins. You know what I mean? And then the Red Wedding happens there. So it's like, I agree with you that Duskendale, it seems like we're getting way too much information. And maybe this is copium by me, but when it seems like we get too much information, I assume it's because that's going to be important later.
But there's so many locations that we've done.
We've gone over that. The story's too big, and we've learned too much for it all to come back. And I agree with you. Like, we can't everything. All this nonsense we've learned can't all.
And I agree with you too.
Relevant.
Like, we know Brienne. Like, okay, maybe you got to give us a little bit of like her just like mindset POV. But we know who Brienne is. This isn't a new character. Damp hair, sure. Go into like his history, and we're at the Iron Islands. That's new, right?
Yep.
The whole religion's new. Like Brienne's not new to us.
And again, I think I actually forgot to post it in the Discord, but I will post it now that I say this. But like, Preston Jacobs has a really good Brienne series, and one of the things he says in the very beginning of his series, maybe the first video, he says, in chapters when they're long and nothing happens, when you look at that, you should assume there's something like theme related or symbolism related, and he kind of comes at it from that angle. And we don't normally do that, and I don't plan to try and like start switching gears and get into that because it's just not what we're good at. But I do like listening to other people talk about it, so like that's why I like recommending the Preston Jacobs video, because again, I don't know if I agree with everything. Some of it seems like a stretch, but I think that is a lot of the answer of why these are so long. There's more theme symbolism.
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean there was a lot.
Yeah.
You got it all. You got the sexism and Brienne being underrated, or, underdog type of deal,
People,
and
will
the
come at her quick and
dunk
stuff.
pod egg, all that. If you want to,
And the
dive
dunk stuff.
into it.
Yep, exactly. But yep, that's about all I had for this one. We'll see
Wrap
the
her
rest.
up.
Yeah, that's all we got. So see you guys in the next one for Sansa 1.
Bye.
See you guys in the next one. Bye.